All right, good morning. I'm in my kitchen and I was baking this morning and my teacher brain came into play and said, "Hey, why don't I show them one of the activities that you could do with fractions?" So I'm gonna flip my camera around and I'm gonna kind of show you something you can do with your measuring cups and some water. And I think my cat's gonna join us, so enjoy that. Okay. Anyways, I'm going to flip my camera around. I'm going to show you some things that you can do with water and fractions. So I just got a bowl of water and I actually added some food coloring into it to make it a little bit more interesting. And I have my measuring cups out. The first thing, let me get them, see if I can get them a little closer. That we can do is we can talk about the sizes of the measuring cups. And we start with 1 cup, and I don't have a 1/6. I don't know if measuring cups come with a 1/6, but mine didn't. So unless it's just somewhere, I don't know where it is. We do 1/2, we talk about 1/3, 1/4, and 1/8. And I kind of just said, hey, what do you notice about the sizes of the measuring cups? And my daughter said, well, this one right here is the smallest. Would hold the least amount, she said. And so then I told her to take a look at the denominator. And the denominator on here is that bottom number, and it's 8. And it's the smallest out of our measuring cups. Even though the denominator on this cup right here is 4, the denominator on here is 3, and so on and so forth. That's something that you can talk to them about. Well, isn't that interesting that the smaller the denominator, the larger the denominator, the smaller the amount that you get. So that's just one thing that you could talk about, naming the different fractions and noticing how much of this measuring cup, or how much of 1/2, because all of these fractions, what you should talk about is that it's equal to a whole. So this cup right here is a part or a fraction of a whole, which is this cup right here. Well, what we could do is, well, how many of these would I need to fill up this cup right here? And that's where that water is going to come into play. So what you could have them do is measure out, well, how many of these are you going to need to make up a whole? So they would just do, and count while they're going, and they're going to figure out how many they need of these 1/2 cups to make a whole. And you can do that with the 1/3s, the 5ths, the 8ths, and the 4ths. Obviously not the 6ths, because we don't have them. So that's another activity that you could do with that. The other one that I was thinking about with measuring cups is that you could compare, well, how many halves does it take to make a cup? Or how many, you could compare it to how many 1/3s it takes to make a cup. Or you can just go into, well, how many 1/3s can you fit into a 1/2? Or how many 4ths can you fit into a 1/2? And that goes along with comparing sizes of the fractions, which is something that we're going to work on this week. You could use one of your, I don't know if I put this back. Oh, you could use one of your clear cups. It might be easier for them to actually see what they're pouring. And that's why I got into the colors. Especially if you have 2 of these, while they're trying to see, well, how many of these is bigger than how many 1/3s, or how many 1/3s is bigger than how many 4ths. So they could, use that die and those clear measuring cups that we have in our kitchen to kind of see like which one is, compare the sizes of the fractions as well. So that's just a couple little things that you can do in your kitchen. You don't have to use water. You could use any source that you have in your kitchen, like flour, sugar, chocolate chips. I baked with chocolate chips today. That's why I'm talking about chocolate chips. sprinkle something fun that they're going to find interesting while they're learning math. Now, I will add, I started talking about fractions today, and my daughter jetted out of the kitchen like, oh, well, this is not something I want to do today. So she left me, and she's usually likes to bake. But anyways, that's just a couple things that you can do in the kitchen. You can use measuring spoons. I had the measuring spoons too. You know, same thing with the measuring cups. You could use the different fractions of a whole to see how much is equal to a whole. You can compare the different sizes of them. Just get kind of, and talk about why it's important that we use these fractional pieces while we're baking. I think the reason why we do the hands-on activities is so that they can see, well, here's why we do this, or why we learn this in class. They get to see that real life connection to what we're learning, and that's when it tends to stick with them into something that they will remember. Oh, well, I did that. This is why I have to know that. Same thing with money. You know, we have to use money day-to-day life. And my cat was scratching my leg. See, I'll show you. He's right here trying to scratch at my leg. So that's just a little of what you can do in the kitchen with fractions, to just learn fractions and compare fractions and their sizes. Hopefully you enjoyed that. Enjoy your day.